chào tất cả các anh chị. Xin được đại diện cho Viện Quản trị Kinh doanh và FSB Đại chào mừng các anh chị. Và rất hân hạnh ngày hôm nay chúng ta có sự có mặt của ông Thomas Friedman, một người được nhiều người biết đến không chỉ qua các tác phẩm của mình. Cùng với ông Thomas Friedman đến với chúng ta ngày hôm nay còn có đại diện của Bộ Ngoại giao, sinh hoạt ngoại giao, đại diện của hội doanh nghiệp trẻ. Xin cảm ơn các anh đã dành cho nhà trường sự hân hạnh này. Chúng tôi cũng xin được trân trọng giới thiệu thầy Nguyễn Việt Thắng và cô Trần Phương Lan, phó viện trưởng và phó viện trưởng. Rất cảm ơn các chị trong thời gian ngắn như vậy khi chúng tôi có được cái xác nhận vừa từ tối hôm qua chúng ta đã có khá đông người quan tâm đến sự kiện này. Tôi xin được giới thiệu vắn tắt về diễn giả trước khi ông tiếp xúc với mọi người. Ông Thomas Friedman sinh năm 53, người được biết đến rất là trong giới báo chí với 3 giải thưởng, một trong những giải thưởng danh giá nhất của ngành báo chí là giải Buổi vào năm 83, 88 và 2002. Nhưng có lẽ đối với người Việt thì tác phẩm của ông ấy được nhiều người biết đến hơn là các giải thưởng này. Đó cũng là một cái sự trùng khớp. Con trai đầu lòng của tôi thì ra đời năm 99, và cuốn sách được dịch sang tiếng Việt đầu tiên của Thomas là Chiều và Cây cũng ra đời năm 99. Con gái của tôi ra đời năm 2005, và 2005 thì ông viết một cuốn thứ hai và chúng ta được biết đến đấy là The World is Flat Earth, thế giới phẳng. Tất nhiên là Thomas còn nhiều đầu sách khác nữa, theo tôi biết có 6 cuốn được coi là bestseller, nhưng mà chúng ta mới chỉ được biết đến 3 cuốn. Cuốn thứ 3 thì cũng có ở trên bàn, và trường thì có được cái hân hạnh là sau này sẽ được tác giả ký tặng cho nhà trường một số cuốn sách và tác giả được viết đã được xuất bản sang tiếng Việt. Một trong những thông điệp quan trọng của Thomas Friedman gửi đến là các nhà kinh doanh cũng như các nhà lãnh đạo thế giới, đấy là thế giới hiện nay đã khác xa so với ngày xưa. Nếu như trước đây chúng ta coi nho học, khổng khá giáo là những tư tưởng là cốt lõi của dân phương Đông, chúng ta cũng được biết là người Trung Hoa bây giờ đã dần dần thay thế nghĩ Trung Quốc sẽ có thể khả năng trở thành nền kinh tế lớn nhất vào trong cuối năm nay. Người Nhật ngay từ thời Minh Trị đã sử dụng cái tư tưởng của chính mình, nho giáo, trong khi hòa nhập với thế giới bên ngoài. Và thông điệp của Thomas cũng chính là trong cái tác phẩm đầu tiên chúng ta được biết đấy chính là các quốc gia muốn phát triển thì phải lưu giữ được cái giá trị riêng có của mình. Một cái khái niệm mà ông ta nói bằng tiếng Anh đấy là globalization. Ta thường viết là toàn cầu hóa là globalization, nhưng mà khái niệm ông ấy đưa ra là globalization. Thì ngày hôm nay Viện Quản trị Kinh doanh, Đại học FPT, tập đoàn FPT rất là vinh dự được đón diễn giả sẽ nói chuyện với quý vị, và tôi xin trân trọng kính mời Thomas có vài lời với xin trân trọng kính mời.
Thank you very much. It's a treat to be here. Thank you all for coming out. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you as much as you are from me. So let me begin with a few words of introduction, kind of what's on my mind, and then we'll go to dialogue. So 100 years from now, when future historians ask, what was the most important thing to happen in the early 21st century? What will they say? Will they say it was the rise of China? Will they say it was the rise of Vietnam? Will they say it was 9/11? Will they say it was the Great Recession? Will they say it was the breakup of Brad and Jen? Or the marriage of William and King? What will they say? I think what they will say is that the most important thing to happen in the early 21st century was actually the merger of globalization and the information technology revolution. More and more IT drove more and more globalization, and more globalization drove the diffusion of more and more IT to such a degree that the world didn't just get connected, it actually got hyper-connected. That's right. Something really important, really big happened in just the last 10 years. The world went from connected to hyper-connected, and from interconnected to interdependent. We are actually, right now, going through what I would call a Gutenberg scale change in how information is produced, turned into knowledge, and then into products and services. That's right. You all happen to be here at a Gutenberg scale moment. You know, someone was alive when Gutenberg invented the printing press. And some monk said to some priest, "Wow, that's really cool. I don't have to write all these books by hand. We can now stamp them out. That's really cool." Well, you are here at a similar leap in technology. So what happened? I'm very sensitive to this because in 2004, I sat down and wrote a book called The World is Flat, about how the world was getting connected. And that book was based on the argument that 4 technologies came together right around the year 2000 to create this connected world, this flat world. The first technology was the PC. The PC. What the PC allowed and enabled was for individuals to create their own content in digital form, in the form of bits and bytes. And when individuals could create their own content, words, data, photos, spreadsheets, video, music, in digital form, it could be shaped in so many ways and sent to so many places. That was the first thing that happened. Second, that coincided with the emergence of something called the internet. And what the internet allowed was for me to create my own content and then send it anywhere in the world, virtually for free. And that coincided with something called workflow software, which allowed me to collaborate on my content in America with you on your content in Vietnam with greater efficiency than ever before. And that coincided with the emergence of something called Google, which enabled me to search my content and your content so we could collaborate that much more efficiently. When I wrote The World is Flat in 2004, I argued that those 4 technologies came together and created a platform where more people in more places could compete, connect, and collaborate with more other people in more other places for less money, with greater efficiency and greater ease than ever before. Had I been a more honest man, had I been more honest, I would have called the book "The World is Flattening." because really only about 1 billion people had access to this platform. But I wasn't a more honest man. Had I called the book The World is Flat in English, it never would have sold 5 million copies in 42 languages. But I called it The World is Flat because I thought I knew where the direction was going. And I think it turned out to be right. Because in 2011, I sat down and wrote a new book about America called That Used to Be Us, about America. But the first thing I did when I sat down in 2011 to write my new book about America was to get the first edition of The World is Flat off my bookshelf that I wrote starting in 2004. And I opened it up to the index in the back. And I looked under A, B, C, D, E, F, F, A, F, A, C, F, A, C, E. Facebook wasn't in it. Yeah. When I wrote The World is Flat, Facebook didn't exist. Twitter was still just a sound. The cloud was still just in the sky. 4G was a parking place. LinkedIn was a prison. Applications were what you sent to college. Big data was a rap star. And Skype was a typographical error. All those technologies emerged after I wrote The World is Flat. What does that tell you? That tells you something really big just happened. Something really big just happened in the plumbing and the wiring of the world. We went from connected to hyper-connected, and from interconnected to interdependent. And it is changing every industry, every job, every school, every career. You are all living it, but nobody has really explained it to you. What took us in such a short period of time from a flat world to an even flatter world? From a connected world to a hyper-connected world? From an interconnected world to an interdependent world? Again, I point to 4 things. First, we went from authoring content, creating content on this, this connected to the cloud, where I could download the most powerful tools in the world for pennies, nickels, and dimes. My ability as an individual to create content exploded. Second, my ability to send my content to you here in Vietnam went from the internet to wireless and high-speed broadband. Now I could send so much more content to so many more places, from so many more places, mobile. Third, my ability to collaborate with you went from workflow software to Facebook, Twitter, crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, crowd innovating. Our ability to collaborate on each other's content exploded. And my ability to search went from Google to big data. So I could search so much more content see so many more patterns and turn them so much more quickly into new products and new services. That's how we went from connected to hyper-connected. So let me end this introduction by making one last point. What are the biggest things you need to know about the hyper-connected world? First of all, it's going to be great to be a consumer in the hyper-connected world. Fantastic. I can go to Amazon.com now and buy shirts, shoes, underwear, clothes, books, chainsaw. I can even buy a car online at the best price. It's going to be great to be a consumer in the hyper-connected world. More choice, better prices, everywhere. It's going to be great to be an innovator in the hyper-connected world. You can now start a global company. You can now start a global company overnight with these two things. Whoever dreamt of graduating from business school and on day one starting a global company with a smartphone and a credit card? But you'll be able to do that using the cloud. Fantastic. It's going to be a terrible world to be the dean of a business school. Terrible. It's going to be a terrible world to be the leader of anything. Because in the hyper-connected world, every leader now is in a two-way conversation. No more one-way conversation. No more me here, you there, me speak, you say nothing. No, not in the world of Twitter and Sina Weibo. No. Every leader, the dean, the columnist, the party secretary, the governor, the mayor, is in a two-way conversation. And privacy is over. No more privacy for any leader. Oh, that's an awfully nice watch you have, Mr. Friedman. Where did you get that? Maybe I'll take a picture of it and put it up on Twitter. Mr. Government official, why are you driving that car? Terrible world to be a leader in, of anything. Lastly, though, very difficult world to be a worker in. Very difficult. Because in the hyper-connected world, average is over. Average is over. Every boss today, when you graduate from this school, you will discover that every boss today has cheaper, easier, faster access to above average robots, above average cheap labor, above average automation, above average software. So average is officially over. I work for the New York Times. In New York today, New York State, we have dairy farms that now have robots that milk the cows. We have robots that milk cows. I hope none of you were thinking of being a cow milker, because that job is over. The only job at the dairy anymore is running the software for the robots that milk the cows. So average is officially over. I tell my girls, my daughters, girls, I'm 60 years old, I'm an old man. When I graduated from college, I got to find a job. I got to find a job. When you leave here, you will have to invent a job. That's the big difference between me and my girls. Oh, you may get lucky. You may get lucky and get hired for your first job. But to keep that job, advance in that job, and rise in that job, you will have to reinvent, re-engineer, redesign that job more often than you can ever imagine. Average is officially over. Your next boss does not care what you know, because the Google machine knows everything. Your next boss does not care what you know. All that he or she cares about is what you can do with what you know. What value you can create with what you know. That's all anyone will pay for. So good luck. When you graduate, remember, I got to find a job. You will have to invent a job. Thank you. So the floor is open, and if anyone has any questions, we can. Sure, Lisa.
A question from the big pen.
Thank you.
I'm not smart enough to fully about the content of the word less. But I heard that thing big and small. From what you communicate with all people say, I think that the word is less for you. On the communist, biggest communist in the world, still not yet enough for, still not yet less for me.
Gotcha.
So the question is, if you are a young man in the world led together,
Yes.
what would you do under the circumstance you are in emerging country
Country.
like Vietnam?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good question. Actually, the world is flat for you.
I cannot travel from Kiev to Hanoi, just 10 days.
Yeah,
So
that's
one
true.
day, so,
That's true, but that's not really what I really meant, you know. One of the most exciting things for me when I travel to somewhere like India, for instance, or to Mexico, countries that are not dissimilar to Vietnam, developing countries, is how many young people I meet who are literally leveraging these technologies with very little capital, but fresh idea to solve their problems. So what do I mean by that? So when I wrote The World is Flat, I actually went to Bangalore, India to meet hundreds, thousands of Indian engineers who were solving my problem. We got just enough technology in the year 2000, so American companies could hire 200,000 Indian engineers to solve my problem. What was my problem? Our problem. Our problem was something called Y2K. Y2K. That we were afraid that all our computers were going to stop on January 1, 2000. And we needed hundreds of thousands of engineers to change the software so all the computers wouldn't stop. That's how this all started. Okay. Now, 15 years later, what do I find when I go to India, when I Mexico. I find young people like yourself using the skills they acquired solving my problems to solve their problems, to develop cheap microfinance banks, to create cheap technologies to purify water, to provide solar power, to provide all kinds of travel or bus services or banking services. It's amazing the explosion of innovation that's actually coming out of the developing world, not solving my problems, solving their problems. And guess what? When you solve your problem on your cost platform, at a cost that it can scale in Vietnam, you have a technology that can go global immediately. Because you've used your innovation to solve your problem on your cost platform. And that's the really exciting thing about this world. My motto is, if it's not happening, it's because you're not doing it. There's nothing to stop you anymore. I wrote about a company in America, Tradesy. It's a clothing exchange site for women. So my daughter gets a wedding dress, she wears it once, she puts it up on Tradesy. It's an $8,000 dress. Someone buys it for $3,000, wears it once, sells it again for $1,500 and down the line. It's called Tradesy. Look at it. It's a very interesting site. Tradesy.com. Tradesy. How did Tradesy start? The woman who started it had no money. So what she did was, she lived in an apartment in San Francisco. And are you familiar with the site Airbnb? Airbnb? It's a really interesting and exploding site where you can rent out a spare bedroom in your house. So she slept on the floor for a year and rented out her bedroom through Airbnb. She raised $25,000, and that and her Visa card was the source money, the seed money for her innovation. So there's so many ways now to leverage this system if you have a good idea and to solve your problems. And if you can solve your problems on your, look at what happened today. It's a freak example, but it's Alibaba. Jack Ma is a friend of mine. 15 years ago, he had an idea for an e-commerce site that would work in China, on China's cost platform. Today, it will be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It will be the biggest IPO ever, all time, Alibaba. The numbers are like staggering. So he built that on his cost platform. And it scaled so big, he's now listing it on the New York Stock Exchange. So if it's not happening, it's because you're not doing it. So I just want to thank you. I know I have to go now, but I want to thank you. One more. Oh, thank you. I'm really honored.
First of all, I'm totally agree with you that our work is pleasant. And said you have experience with India, or it's only 10 days. Yeah, to Harvard.
Yeah.
I have my own experience like yours. I got my US trip early, the same day.
Wow.
I went to Vietnam.
Great.
Yeah. To turn my travel trips with the President Clinton.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Great.
But here's my question for you. Is it really important to keep low profile in the digital era? As you say, because in the digital era, the privacy is over. But is this a kind of paradox when we find anything on the platform, online platform? So now if we don't reveal anything, so we think the devil is okay.
It's a very, very good question. Goodbye. I give you a short answer. Okay. Her question was simply, if privacy is over, should we all just pull in and be very private? You just tell people that was the question. So my answer is, if you get a chance, read a book called How. The book is called How. Written by a friend of mine named Doug Seidman. It's sort of written on the world as flat, sort of platform. And the simple thesis of his book is when the world becomes this connected and this transparent, where I can see inside of you, you can see inside of me, and we can both tell the world what we see, with no editor, no libel lawyer, no standards, no rules. How becomes very important. How you lead your life, how you do your business, how you treat your colleagues, how you treat your professors, how your professors treat you. Behavior now matters more than ever. So it's not that you should pull in, it's that you should get your hows right. Okay? Mark Twain, the author Mark Twain, had a saying, always tell the truth, then you'll never have to remember what you said. Okay. All right? So always get your hows right, and you'll have nothing to worry about being public or private. I'll tell you a funny story. I was once teaching a course at Harvard with Larry Summers. I was flying back to Washington, D.C., and I was waiting for the plane, and I went to buy a magazine. I took the magazine off the shelf, and I walked to the counter to pay, and a woman was coming in from the other direction. Honestly, I thought I got there first. I put my magazine down, and she said, "Excuse me, I was here first." And she looked at me, "I know who you are." I said, "Ma'am, can I buy your magazines? Can I shine your shoes? Okay? Can I buy you lunch? Just don't blog about me, tweet about me, Instagram about me." Okay? The point is, in this connected world, your hows matter more than ever. Are we done? Thank you very much.